Have you ever stopped to think about why a real man remains faithful? Many people believe that it has to do with love, respect, or even fear of losing their partner. But the truth is that, inside a man's head, fidelity has much deeper roots and is often much harder than it seems from the outside. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you today. Get ready, because what you're about to hear may completely change the way you understand the male mind. The issue is simple. A man may seem faithful for many different reasons, but deep down, there are only 3 clear reasons that truly keep him in a relationship. 3 reasons he will never admit out loud, but which are there, inside him, guiding every choice he makes. And when you understand these 3 reasons, everything starts to make sense. You begin to see the signs. You can tell when a man is with you because he really wants to be, or when he's just there for convenience. What's more, you understand what makes a relationship really last and without deception. But before I reveal these 3 reasons, I need to prepare you, because nothing I'm going to say here is obvious. On the contrary, a lot of it may sound harsh, uncomfortable, even cold, but it is precisely this clarity that will open your eyes. After all, what's the point of living in an illusion if what really drives a man's mind is much more direct and realistic than soap operas, movies, or even advice from friends make it seem? Just imagine, you believe you are safe, that the man by your side is 100% loyal because he loves you, because he values every detail about you. But in reality, inside him, the reasons that sustain this fidelity are very different from what you imagine. He won't tell you, he won't admit it, but sooner or later his gestures reveal the truth. And that's why this video is so important. I want you to see beyond the words. I want you to understand the silent logic that guides male behavior. In the next few minutes, we're going to dive into the mind of a faithful man and discover the 3 reasons that keep him by his partner's side. Reasons that may be simple, but carry enormous weight. Reasons that, when not understood, end up destroying entire relationships, even when everything seemed fine. And I'll give you a heads up. Don't expect beautiful answers, full of movie romance. What I'm going to reveal is raw, direct, and psychological. But that's exactly why it's transformative. If you've suffered in relationships, if you've been cheated on, or if you live with that doubt, does he really love me or is he just with me for another reason? Then you need to stay until the end of this video, because I'm going to give you, step by step, each of the 3 reasons, and you'll have a clarity you've never had before. What's more, it doesn't matter if you're in a short-term relationship or a long-term marriage. These reasons are always present. They may appear in different ways, but they're there. And when you understand that, you can even predict behaviors and prepare yourself so you don't suffer later. So, make yourself comfortable, because from now on, we are going to uncover together the secrets that every faithful man carries within himself. And I guarantee, at the end of this video, you will never look at men the same way again. Before revealing the 3 reasons that keep a man faithful, we need to understand something essential. The male mind works differently from the female mind when it comes to commitment. While many women link fidelity to love, care, and affection, men generally follow a more practical, quieter, and often more instinctive logic. This does not mean that they do not love or value. It just means that the internal paths that make a man remain faithful follow a different map. And if you don't know that map, it's easy to get lost in illusions. For most men, fidelity is not just a romantic choice. It is a result, a reflection of 3 main factors that, when present, keep him steadfast in a relationship. But when they are absent, even the most passionate man can begin to feel unstable, empty, or tempted to seek something outside the relationship. And here's the first key you need to remember. A faithful man is not faithful just because he loves. He is faithful because there is a set of emotional and psychological reasons that underpin that loyalty. Now, think with me. How many times have you heard stories of men who seemed completely in love and suddenly cheated on or abandoned their partners? This happens because even though love existed, one of the invisible foundations that hold fidelity in place was missing. In other words, feelings alone don't hold anyone in place. And that's where the big difference lies. Women often put love at the center of everything. If they love, they stay. If they don't love, they leave. Men, on the other hand, can love and still walk away, lose themselves, or even cheat. This may seem harsh, but it is a reality that must be faced. The male mind is closely linked to 2 forces, instinct and logic. Instinct pushes men outward, to conquer, seek novelty, and feel excitement. Logic, on the other hand, holds them back, reminding them of what they can gain and what they can lose. And it is in this conflict between instinct and logic that fidelity is defined. If a man remains faithful, it is because within this balance, there are invisible forces stronger than temptation, forces that often even he himself does not understand or can explain. He simply acts according to them. And that is why so many women become frustrated when they try to talk openly about fidelity. They ask, "Would you ever cheat on me?" And he replies, "Of course not, I would never do that." But in practice, his actions don't always match his words. Not because he is a liar by nature, but because even he doesn't understand the mechanisms that work within his own mind. Now, think of fidelity as if it were a house. Love may be the roof, beautiful, eye-catching, visible to everyone. But what really supports this house are the columns. Without sturdy columns, the roof collapses even if it looks perfect. And these columns are precisely the 3 reasons I'm about to reveal to you. When the 3 columns are sturdy, the man remains standing, faithful, present. But when one of them cracks, the whole balance of the relationship begins to shake. Have you ever seen relationships that seemed solid suddenly fall apart? This happens because, silently, one of these pillars was already weak, and no one noticed it in time. That's why it's so important to understand the male mind before talking about the reasons themselves. Because when you understand that fidelity does not depend only on feelings, but on internal structures, you begin to observe the signs around you much more carefully. And here's a hard but necessary truth. A man can love you and still fail to be faithful, but if the 3 reasons I'm about to reveal are alive within him, fidelity becomes almost natural, almost inevitable. It's as if his mind finds a logical and emotional way to stay with the same woman, without needing to make a forced effort. Deep down, fidelity isn't just about promises, alliances, or vows of love. It's about what a man feels he gains by being with you, and what he fears losing if he isn't. It's about how much peace, pride, and security his mind finds within the relationship. And now that you understand this perspective, you're ready to learn the 3 reasons. Simple reasons, but so powerful that they become the basis of male fidelity. In the next section, we'll begin to unpack each of them, with real examples and clear explanations that will open your eyes in a way that may never have happened before. It's time to open the first column that supports a man's fidelity. And I need you to understand, this reason has nothing to do with promises of eternal love or phrases from romantic movies. In fact, it's something much more direct, almost instinctive. The first reason that keeps a man faithful is when he feels proud of the woman by his side. It may seem simple, but it's not. A faithful man is not only bound by love, but by the quiet pride of being able to say to himself, "She's the one I'm with." This pride doesn't even need to be shown in public. It often happens inside his mind in ordinary moments, in the small details of the day. When he looks at you and feels that being by your side increases his value, fidelity gains strength. And note, this pride does not depend solely on physical appearance, although that also counts. It is linked to the whole package. The way you carry yourself, how you speak, how you react to life. A faithful man is one who feels lucky, who is with someone he admires. And here comes the shocking part. When that pride disappears, the risk of infidelity increases greatly. A man may even love, he may even get used to it. But if he no longer feels pride, if he begins to feel that the relationship no longer represents him, his mind opens up loopholes. And these loopholes are dangerous. Perhaps you have seen cases like this. Men who were in long, stable relationships, but who suddenly became involved with someone else who, in the eyes of others, seemed even lesser. And people ask, how could he leave everything for her? The answer is this: that new person brought back a sense of pride that he no longer felt. Not arrogant pride, but the pride of feeling valued and empowered. That's why so many men say things like, "She inspires me to be better," or, "With her, I feel like I can conquer the world." These phrases may sound nice, but they reveal a powerful psychological truth. Men remain faithful when they feel that they are growing alongside their partner. He doesn't diminish. He doesn't shrink. He expands. And here's the secret. When the relationship becomes a burden, when instead of pride he begins to feel shame, fidelity wavers. It doesn't have to be public shame, just internal. All he has to do is think, is this really what I want to carry with me? This silent thought is like a crack in the first column of the house. If not taken care of, it will spread until it brings down the entire structure. But when pride is strong, fidelity becomes natural. Men don't need to fight temptations. They simply don't want anything else, because they feel they already have something rare and valuable. He looks at his partner and feels that with her, he has a life worth defending. Now, this does not mean that the woman has to be perfect or follow some unattainable standard. Male pride does not come only from beauty, but from the sum of things. It can be emotional strength, intelligence, the way she supports him, or even the way she maintains her identity without losing herself in the relationship. All of this feeds the admiration that sustains fidelity. And here's a truth that may hurt. When a man stops admiring his partner, he may stay with her out of habit, fear of losing stability, or even dependence. But fidelity begins to weaken. He may not physically cheat, but his mind is already beginning to wander. And often betrayal begins precisely in the mind. On the other hand, when pride is alive, a man becomes a natural guardian of the relationship. He doesn't just think about himself, but about the value of being with someone he truly admires. And this creates a powerful cycle. The more pride he feels, the more faithful he becomes. The more faithful he becomes, the more pride he has in his own choice. So keep this first reason in mind. A faithful man only stays when he feels proud of the woman by his side. This pride is the first invisible pillar that sustains fidelity. Without it, the house begins to crack. With it, the relationship gains strength to withstand time and temptations. In the next section, we will look at the second reason, a reason as strong as this one, but which touches on a different aspect of the male mind. An aspect linked not to pride, but to what he feels he could never lose. And when you understand this second pillar, you will see how it connects to the first, forming an almost unbreakable foundation for fidelity. We have already talked about the first reason, the pride a man feels for his partner. But fidelity is not based on that alone. There is a second pillar, just as strong as the first, that keeps a man faithful within a relationship. And that reason is the real fear of losing something that, for him, is irreplaceable. It may sound strange to think of fear as the basis for fidelity, but that's exactly how it works in the male mind. A man remains faithful when he understands, deep down, that nothing outside the relationship can bring him the same value he already has at his side. This fear is not weakness. It is an instinct for self-preservation. It is the awareness that if he makes a mistake, he may jeopardize something he will never find again. Now pay attention. This irreplaceable something doesn't have to be just you as a person, but everything that the relationship represents. It could be the emotional support you give him, the feeling of stability, the home you've built together, the children, the dreams you share, or even the peace he feels when he's with you. It's as if there were a scale inside his mind. On one side, temptation. On the other, everything he would lose if he failed. And when the weight of what he already has is greater, fidelity becomes a natural choice. This second reason is what holds back men who, even in moments of weakness, think twice before making a mistake. They may even be provoked, tested, tempted. But when it comes time to act, their mind fires off a warning. Is it worth risking everything for a moment of impulse? And that warning, when it is strong, is what keeps loyalty firm. But here comes the hard part. When a man sees nothing really valuable to lose, fidelity weakens. If he feels that the relationship brings nothing special, that there is nothing unique, the psychological break disappears. And that's where many fall, because even though they love, they don't see the consequences of a mistake as something serious. And when the fear of losing is small, the temptation grows too much. Consider an example. A married man with children and a life built alongside his partner. If he sees all of this as essential, he holds on tightly. But if the idea arises within him that none of this is so valuable, that he could start over at any time, the risk increases. It is not external reality that matters, but how he internally perceives the value of what he has. And that is why so many men, in relationships where they do not feel truly connected, end up taking risks. They do not see great losses, just a life that could be changed. That is the danger of a lack of depth. On the other hand, when the fear of loss is great, fidelity becomes a wall. The man looks at his partner, at the life he has built, and feels that any slip-up would be a personal tragedy. This thought does not bind him out of obligation, but out of conscience. He understands that a mistake would destroy something that could not be easily rebuilt. And here is the connection between the first and second reasons. Pride makes him stay because he admires his partner. The fear of losing strengthens this bond because he recognizes the unique value of this relationship in his life. It's as if he were saying to himself, "There is no one who can take her place. There is nothing out there that is worth more than what I already have. This is the point that separates firm fidelity from fragile fidelity. When the fear of losing is real, a man does not need to be watched or questioned all the time. He watches himself because he knows how much he would have to lose. And this awareness creates a fidelity more solid than any promise spoken in words. But it is important to understand something. This fear cannot arise from threats, blackmail, or demands. It must arise from the man's natural perception of the value of the relationship. When he sees on his own that he is in something rare and precious, his instinct for self-preservation does the rest. But when fear is imposed from outside, with control and pressure, the effect is the opposite. He feels suffocated and starts looking for a way out. Therefore, the secret is not to force a man to be afraid of losing you, but to live in such a way that he realizes on his own that losing you would be one of the worst things in his life. Remember this: a faithful man only stays when he feels he has something to lose that can never be replaced. This is the second reason, the second invisible pillar that supports male fidelity. In the next section, we'll talk about the third reason, perhaps the most intimate of all, because it's not just connected to pride or fear of loss, but touches the emotional heart of a man, something that, when it exists, transforms fidelity into an almost natural reflex. It means feeling that, instead of growing stronger in the relationship, he lives in a state of alertness, pressure, or demand. Now here's the revealing part. Many men who cheat do so not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of peace. They end up getting involved with someone else because, in some way, that person offers a refuge, albeit temporary, from the weight they carry in their official relationship. This does not justify it, but it explains the internal logic that guides their minds. When a man finds peace with his partner, he doesn't feel the need to seek anything outside the relationship. This peace appears in simple things, in comfortable silence, in non-judgmental support, in the feeling that he doesn't have to prove anything all the time. It's as if the relationship becomes a place of rest for the soul, a space where he doesn't have to fight to be accepted. And here's a detail that many people don't realize. Emotional peace doesn't mean never arguing, but knowing that even in arguments, there is respect. It doesn't mean never making mistakes, but being sure that mistakes can be resolved with maturity. It doesn't mean living a fairy tale, but feeling that even in storms, there is shelter. This peace is what keeps many men faithful, even in the face of great temptations. Because in their minds, no adventure is worth putting at risk the only place where they truly feel whole. He may even have opportunities, he may even be provoked, but inside him always echoes the certainty: I'm not going to risk losing the only person in front of whom I can be myself. Now notice how the three reasons are connected. Pride makes a man stay because he admires his partner. Fear of loss makes him stay because he understands the value of what he already has. Emotional peace makes him stay because he feels he has found the rarest space of all, peace of mind. When these three pillars are firm, fidelity becomes almost inevitable. But when one of them breaks, the relationship begins to run silent risks. A man may even remain there physically, but his mind has already begun to wander. And that is why so many relationships become fragile, even without clear signs of betrayal. So, keep this third reason in mind. A man only remains faithful when he finds emotional peace alongside the woman he has chosen. This peace is invisible to the world, but it is indispensable to the male mind. Without it, fidelity becomes merely an obligation. With it, fidelity becomes a natural choice, made every day. And in the next section, we'll put all these pieces together: pride, fear of loss, and emotional peace, to understand how they work together and how you can tell if these pillars are truly solid in your relationship. Because only then will you have absolute clarity about the fidelity that lives beside you. Now that you know the three reasons that make a man remain faithful, pride, fear of loss, and emotional peace, it's time to connect the dots. Separately, they are already strong, but when they come together, they create an almost unshakable foundation. Go back to the image of the house I used before. Each reason is a column. If one of them cracks, the house may still stand, but it is already vulnerable. Now, when all three are solid, nothing can bring it down. This is the secret of male fidelity. It is not a single factor, but the union of three invisible pillars that support a man's behavior. And that is why so many relationships suddenly fall apart. On the outside, everything seemed fine, but silently, one of those pillars had been weak for a long time. Perhaps pride had already disappeared. Perhaps the fear of losing had diminished. or perhaps emotional peace had ended. And when one pillar falls, the others begin to be tested until the entire balance is lost. Now reflect. In which of these three pillars do you feel your relationship is strong? And in which of them do you feel there is fragility? This answer is essential because it shows exactly where your attention needs to be. Let's look at some practical signs. Pride. If he introduces you with joy, speaks of you with admiration, and shows that he feels better for being with you, that pillar is strong. But if he avoids including you, seems ashamed, or no longer shows pride, something is breaking. Fear of losing. If he values what you have, shows care, and avoids risks, because he doesn't want to jeopardize the relationship, this pillar is strong. But if he acts as if he could start over at any moment, as if nothing were essential, this pillar is weakened. Emotional peace. If he finds support, tranquility, and space to be himself in you, fidelity is protected. But if the relationship has become nothing but demands, criticism, and pressure, peace disappears, and with it, the security of fidelity. Notice how each pillar connects to the other. Pride feeds the fear of losing, because no one wants to lose what they admire. The fear of losing strengthens the search for peace because we only take care of what is valuable. And peace increases pride because when there is harmony, he feels even more admiration for being with you. It is a powerful cycle, but one that requires constant attention. And here is the final and most important point. A man's fidelity is not only won at the beginning, but reaffirmed every day. It is not enough to believe that he is faithful because he loves you, because he said he would never cheat on you, or because he wears a wedding ring on his finger. What really keeps a man faithful is the continuous presence of these three reasons. So stop believing only in cliches and start observing attitudes. More than hearing "I love you," see if he shows pride. More than trusting promises, see if he really fears losing what you have. And above all, more than expecting perfection, notice if he finds peace in you. More than expecting declarations, observe if he finds emotional peace by your side. And if, after hearing all this, you realize that one of these pillars is fragile, don't despair. This is actually an opportunity. After all, we can only fix what we can see. The most important thing is not to close your eyes, not to live on illusions, but to seek the clarity that transforms. Now, imagine for a moment what it would be like to live in a relationship where all three pillars are strong. A man who feels proud every day to be with you, who carries a real fear of losing you because he knows the unique value of the relationship, and who finds emotional peace by your side, as if the relationship were the safest refuge in the world. This is the scenario where fidelity becomes natural, without the need for demands, threats, or mistrust. And that is exactly what separates a fragile relationship from a solid one. So, keep this final summary in mind. He only remains faithful if he is proud of you. He only remains faithful if he has a real fear of losing what you have. He only remains faithful if he finds emotional peace by your side. These three reasons are simple but revealing. They show what really goes on inside a man's mind. And now you no longer have to live in doubt, because you know exactly what signs to look for. So the next time you look at your relationship, don't just ask if he loves you. Ask, is he proud of me? Would he be genuinely afraid of losing me? Does he find emotional peace by my side? If the answer is yes to all three questions, you have solid fidelity. If the answer is no to any of them, it's time to pay attention and take action. In the end, fidelity is not an impossible mystery to understand. It is simply the sum of three reasons that, when well understood, provide clarity and strength for those who want to live in a true relationship. And now I want to know, looking at everything you've heard today, which of these three reasons do you think weighs most heavily in your relationship? Leave your answer in the comments because I will read each one of them. And if this video has opened your eyes, share it with someone who also needs to understand the psychology of the male mind. Because in the end, every faithful man stays for three simple reasons. And now you know them all.